Hey, it's Mr. Shrum, and since it is Earth Day, I think I'm going to go over a few articles and videos and suggest perhaps some readings, documentaries, things to get you all acquainted with the current state of affairs when it comes to the environment and the human impact on the environment and our brothers on this earth, brothers and sisters on this earth, and how that can negatively affect our planet. So this was from 2019. We're on The Guardian right now. And the article is titled Human Society Under Urgent Threat from Loss of Earth's Natural Life. Scientists reveal 1 million species at risk of extinction in damning UN report. Yada, yada, yada. Now, this picture right here, let me zoom in a bit. There we go. So this is forest clearance in Indonesia. Scientists have warned of the impact of deforestation on animals. And this is from Greenpeace, someone with Greenpeace. I mean, look at that. Deforestation, it's exactly what it sounds like. They are unforesting areas of the earth. Jonathan Watts, Global Environment Editor. All right. So, human society is in jeopardy from the accelerating decline of the Earth's natural life support system. And the world's leading scientists have warned as they announced the results of the most thorough planetary health check ever undertaken. So they did a checkup on the Earth, and turns out it's not doing so hot. Okay, from coral reefs flickering out beneath the oceans to rainforests desiccating into savannas, nature is being destroyed at a rate tens to hundreds of times higher than the average over the past 10 million years. According to the UN Global Assessment Report, the biomass of wild mammals has fallen by 82%. And biomass, if you want to get a better sense of what that means, that is just the total amount of biomaterial, the total mass of organisms in a given area or volume. So the overall biomass of wild mammals has fallen by 82%. Natural ecosystems have lost about half their area, and 1 million species are at risk of extinction, all largely as a result of human actions, said the study, compiled over 3 years by more than 450 scientists and diplomats. This is a picture of a bleached coral reef on the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. If you've seen movies like Nemo, you should remember how coral is colorful, very vibrant, and that is a healthy looking coral. This is a bleached coral. It's essentially dead, dying, and 2 in 5 amphibian species are at risk of extinction, as are 1/3 of forming corals and close to 1/3 of other marine species. The picture for insects, which are crucial to plant pollination, is less clear, but conservative estimates suggest at least 1 in 10 are threatened with extinction, and in some regions, populations have actually crashed. So we can look at that one later too. In economic terms, the losses are jaw-dropping. Pollinator loss has put up to 577 billion of crop output at risk, while land degradation has reduced the productivity of 23% of global land. So even from an economic point of view, it's not great. The knock-on impacts on humankind, including freshwater shortages and climate instability, are already ominous and will worsen without drastic remedial action, the authors said. The health of the ecosystem on which we and other species depend is deteriorating more rapidly than ever. We are eroding the very foundations of economies, livelihoods, food security, health, and quality of life worldwide, said Robert Watson, who is the chair of the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, or IPPES. We have lost time. We must act now. Human activity has impacted both the abundance and diversity of animals and plants. So in this chart, the decline in global biomass of wild mammals, 82% since prehistory. Prehistory is the time before written history, before humans came together in civilizations, city-states, and were able to record events as they happen. And anytime before that is generally called prehistory, pre-written history. So the decline in global biomass of wild mammals, 82%, decline of natural ecosystems, 47%, plant and animal species threatened with extinction, 25%, decline in abundance of naturally present land species, 23%, and that's measured from prehistory. The warning was unusually stark for a UN report that has to be agreed by consensus across all nations. So this is what all nations were like okay with publishing. Hundreds of scientists have compiled 15,000 academic studies and reports from indigenous communities living on the front line of change. They build on the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment of 2005, but go much further by looking not just at an inventory of species. So they're not just looking at all of the species, but the actual web of interactions between biodiversity, climate, and human well-being. Over the past week, representatives from the world's governments have fine-tuned the summary for policymakers. This is from 2019, so not the past week, which includes remedial scenarios such as transformative change across all areas of government, revised trade rules, massive investments in forests and other green infrastructure, and changes in individual behavior, such as lower consumption of meat and material goods. So the more important changes will be systemic. So taking shorter showers, not using plastic bags all the time, that is okay. Personal change is okay, but that does not translate into social change. I think Derek Jensen said something about that. Personal change does not constitute social change, right? And if society itself is heading down this negative path, you as an individual choosing not to eat meat or being more inclined to buy ethically sourced products, that's all great, but don't get too caught up in that mindset, because just because you are not doing anything doesn't mean society in general has made any change, okay? So we have to make a systemic change, otherwise it's all gone. Now, following school strikes, extinction rebellion protest, the UK Parliament's declaration of a climate emergency and Green New Deal debates in the United States and Spain, the authors hope the 1,800-page assessment of biodiversity will push the nature crisis into the global spotlight in the same way climate breakdown has surged up the political agenda since the 1.5C report last year by the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Now, this is a picture of harvesters in Brazil. So if you zoom in, okay, maybe I do need to zoom in, but you can see these harvesters taking up soybeans in their equipment here. See how they're moving this way across the fields? David Obura, one of the main authors on the report and a global authority on corals, said, "We tried to document how far in trouble we are to focus people's minds, but also to say it is not too late if we put a huge amount into transformational behavioral change. This is fundamental to humanity. We are not just talking about nice species out there. This is our life support system." And we talk a lot about, evolution or natural selection, and it's framed as this survival of the fittest, like it's a competition, and the best predator that can use the resources around him or her, they will be the winners, right? And they are at the top of the food chain. And it's not so much that type of competition, right? You don't want to be, it's not survival of the fittest. Think of it more like survival of the fit and how you fit in with your surroundings, right? A lion, a big predator, will kill a gazelle and then eat that gazelle, right? They will not go and slaughter a whole herd of gazelle, right? And they will not create these factories, and they will not use trucks to transport gazelles to other big cities full of cats, right? That's not how it works. They take what they need, they eat it, they move on. Not very many species overconsume the way humans do. That's a very uniquely human thing. And societal change, you need to change the framework. We need to help and replenish the environment because it's a mutual thing. If we keep destroying the thing that gives us the ability to live, we will not be able to live the way we are living now. The way we are living now is unsustainable. The human population can't keep growing on a planet that has finite resources. Okay, so keep that in mind. The report shows a planet in which the human footprint is so large, it leaves little space for anything else. 3/4 of all land has been turned into farm fields, covered by concrete, swallowed up by dam reservoirs, and otherwise significantly altered. 2/3 of the marine environment has also been changed by fish farms, shipping routes, subsea mines, and other projects. 3/4 of rivers and lakes are used for crop or livestock cultivation, and as a result, more than 500,000 species have insufficient habitats for long-term survival. Many are on course to disappear within decades. So you see how other species, when they're not provided with sufficient habitats, they eventually die out. And that may in fact happen with the human species as well. Now, there are many ways that a human population could reduce significantly in size. Some are through violence, nuclear war. Some are just you're continuing to overshoot, and then you'll have to reduce the population because it can't be sustained. And you see that in today's society. There is enough food to feed everyone on Earth, and yet it is not distributed in a humane way, and it is not distributed in in an efficient way. You see companies destroying perfectly fine food and products to maintain scarcity, right? How can you sell something that you are giving away for free somewhere else? That just can't be, right? The logic of this economic system doesn't promote that. Okay. So Eduardo Brandizio, I hope I pronounced that right. He is a co-chair from Indiana University Bloomington, and he said, "We have been displacing our impact around the planet from frontier to frontier, but we are running out of frontiers. If we see business as usual going forward, then we'll see a very fast decline in the ability of nature to provide what we need and to buffer climate change. Agriculture and fishing are the primary causes of the deterioration. Food production has increased dramatically since the 1970s, which has helped feed a growing global population and generated jobs and economic growth. But this has come at a high cost. The meat industry has a particularly heavy impact. Grazing areas for cattle account for about 25% of the world's ice free land and more than 18% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Crop production uses 12% of land and creates less than 7% of emissions." And I will stop there and we'll continue this article in a few seconds before I switch over to the other meeting. Okay, see you guys.